They did it. Team USA was able to defeat Costa Rica in the first and very important match. It was by no means a comfortable win. In truth, we were quite lucky to have won it, but hey, a win is a win. We got the 3 points. Sometimes you just got to grind them out, and that is exactly what the US did. So far this is going according to the best case scenario for my prediction videos about this whole tournament and how the US can qualify. If you haven't already seen that video, then definitely please go check that out while it's still relevant. But now let's get into the match. So the lineup that Crease went with was David Ochoa in goal, which was quite a surprise because everything that Crease had said in the build-up to this game seemed to suggest that JT Marcinkowski was the one that was going to get the nod, but instead it was Ochoa. And in fact, it turned out to be a very good decision, which we will get into more in a minute. Next, our back line was Sam Vines as expected at left back, Mauricio Pineda as the left-sided center back. He partnered with Justin Glad on the right side, and then it was Aaron Herrera as right back, which was another surprise as I was expecting Julian Araujo, but that also ended up being quite a good choice as we will also explain a little bit later. In the middle, we had Jackson Yueill as expected as that holding midfielder, along with Jordi Mihailovic and Hassani Dotson. Now, I would have preferred Johnny Cardoso there instead of Dotson, but he was also able to come on later as a sub. So he still got some good minutes in this game. Hopefully he will start this next game though. The front three was made up of Jesus Ferrer up front, no surprise there, Benji Michel on the right, and then Jonathan Lewis on the left. Now, unfortunately for the US, Uli Yanis picked up an ankle injury in training, and so he had to be replaced with Tanner Tessman for the tournament. So he is out, and that is very unfortunate because Yanis was one of the players that I was looking forward to seeing in action the most, and it is definitely a big blow to not have him in the squad. That said, this team was still able to pull it off. They came away with the win, if only just barely. So now a recap of the game. Now, in the first half, there was definitely a lot of mistakes by the US, despite being very aggressive and attack-minded early on. In fact, Jesus had a big chance within the first 2 minutes of the game. He took the ball off the defender very well, but he ended up hitting the post. Apart from that, you can also see that there was a lot of nervous energy and definitely a lack of sharpness in the beginning of the first half. Now, this is probably due to the fact that all of the players have not had any competitive games since November, but there was still some good team play and some good passing ideas, but the execution just wasn't there. There was a lot of heavy touches early on. But by far the biggest problem we had was the weak back line. Now, there were several big mistakes made by both center backs and even the left back Sam Vines as well. And those mistakes led to big chances for Costa Rica. And really the only reason they weren't able to capitalize on those big chances was thanks to the fantastic goalkeeping of David Ochoa. He made some very good decisions under extreme pressure, came off his line at the right moment, was able to come up with some big saves. He gave an excellent performance all game long and ended up making more than 8 saves in total. Again, a lot of those were due to big mistakes made by our back line, and Pineda made the most, especially early on, but so did Glad with some very poor passing. Now, as the first half went on, the players were able to calm down a bit and the passing did improve. And in fact, it was thanks to good passing on the left side that led to the first goal by Jesus Ferreira at the 35th minute. Now, this would prove to be the winner and the difference maker. It is a bit worrying that in total, however, the US was only able to manage just 2 shots on target for the whole game and only 7 overall. So that is something that definitely needs to improve. Now, as expected, there were some CONCACAF shenanigans going on. There was a little scuffle in the first half, a couple of yellow cards, and some dirty studs up challenges in the second half as well. And speaking of the second half, Costa Rica did come out swinging as they were down a goal. The US did better in defending, and there were a lot of subs for both teams. In fact, all the subs happened in the second half. There was, for example, a double sub in the 59th minute with Sebastian Salcedo coming on for Benji Michel and Perea coming on for Mihailovic in the middle. This was mostly due to the fact that Costa Rica expertly shut down Jackson Yueill since the beginning of the game, thanks to their man marking system. They cut off his distribution, and that was something that needed fixing. And the change did help in that regard, with Pereira being there, allowed Yueill to try to get more involved in the game, play up a little further up, and participate in the link-up play. Despite this, however, the US still struggled to create chances, especially in the middle. A little later, however, at the 67th minute, Jesus did have a very good chance to score again, but the pass put the ball just a little too far forward for him. It looked like he did struggle on that first touch and he couldn't get it afterwards. And it seems like while he was trying to, he actually maybe overextended his leg a bit and ended up with what seemed to be a muscle injury at first. It doesn't seem, they never revealed how bad it was or exactly what type of injury he sustained. But either way, that injury caused him to be subbed off for Soto. Hopefully Jesus is fine. He actually walked off the field and was seen walking just fine after the game as well. But I'm still glad that Soto was able to come on and get some minutes. He didn't have much of a chance to impact the game, however. And at the 82nd minute, we had another double sub. This time it was Johnny Cardoso finally coming on for Dotson, which I think was a bit overdue. Dotson didn't play bad. He did, definitely put in a good effort and, performance. But once Johnny Cardoso came on, you could see that there was some improvement in that middle of the field. The other sub was Araujo for Lewis. Now, this one was a bit interesting because it made Araujo play essentially as a left wing back. Now, I'm not sure how much experience, if any, he has playing in that role, but he actually did fairly well. He was able to push up and play as a left winger in attack and possession, and in defense, he actually dropped back, and that actually created a five-man back line with Vines moving inwards, almost as a third center back. Now, this made sense as Lewis was tiring out, and the U.S. wanted to hang on to its one-goal lead to see out the win, which is ultimately what ended up happening. So it did end up being a pretty good move by Crease. But the US was still very lucky to have won because Costa Rica did have a very big chance on a corner kick that was given to them thanks to a mistake by Aaron Herrera, the right back this time. Now, so that means that literally each member of our back line made at least one big mistake that led to a clear goal scoring opportunity for the opposition. Not good at all. From that set piece, the Costa Rica player got a good header and just barely put it wide. So, what are the takeaways from this game? Well, the biggest probably is that our back line is by far our weakest link, which doesn't look like it's going to be able to improve much. I mean, the only other center back we have is Henry Kessler. I honestly don't think he's going to be able to add much more or even offer a much better option to either Glad or Pineda. I'm sure he will get the chance, so we'll see. But something definitely needs to be done there. Hopefully, it was mostly down to, again, just a lack of match fitness and sharpness and early nerves. I mean, the big mistakes were toned down as the game went on, so we'll see. It's also clear that all the opposition needs to do is man mark Yule out of the game, and that will drastically affect the US and forces the center backs to do more passing and ultimately make more mistakes. I expect every single team to really replicate this tactic as it proved pretty effective. And so that is something the US has to do something about it. They have to address this issue. I'm sure that starting Cardoso alongside Yule will be a big help as he can also play defensive and help out Yule and also make things a little bit harder for the opposition. Hopefully those two can link up well and progress the ball forward, create more chances from the middle of the field, which was lacking in this game. In that same vein, we desperately need to create more chances in the final third. So hopefully Jesus's injury is not really an injury or not that serious, so that way he can still play in the tournament. It seems like he is, so that's definitely a good thing. I mean, Soto is definitely a good player and is a better finisher, but he relies on other players to give him good passes, which he can then finish off. But again, that was lacking from the middle of the field. Maybe he can get on the end of some better crosses, maybe from the wide players, but we'll see. It's still clear the US really needs to improve here and fast. Now, before we get into the preview for the next game against the Dominican Republic, if you have enjoyed the video so far, please go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content. All right, on to the preview. Now, this game should be the easiest of the group stage. Mexico just beat Dominican Republic 4-1. So we should also expect nothing less than a comfortable victory for the US. Even with the players that we have, there's no reason for the US to not come away with a solid victory here. That being said, the Dominican Republic team still deserves respect. The US should not go into this game thinking they have already won it. Biggest mistake they could do is underestimate this team and go in overconfident. Now, a little background on this Dominican Republic team. Now, out of this 20-man squad, 8 are playing in Europe. 7 in Spain, and 1 in Germany. Now that sounds impressive. However, they are all in second or even third divisions. And even then, none are really starters for those teams. For example, the number one goalkeeper, Johann Guzman, is signed by Atletico Pantoja, one of the better teams in the Dominican Republic. In fact, they are currently in this year's CONCACAF Champions League. However, he is not currently playing for them. It seems he has actually been on loan since 2018 to Real Avila, who plays in the Spanish third division. And even then, he's only played 10 games in total. So that's 10 games since 2018. So definitely not a lot of game time for him and shows that he really isn't that good. So I expect much more goals to get past this keeper, other than the 4 that Mexico already put past them. Hopefully a lot more goals get past in this next game. The rest of those players in Europe are defender João Urbaez, who plays for Alcorcón in the Spanish second division, defender Jose Luis de la Cruz with Carabanchel in the Spanish third division, Brian Lopez with Atlético Porcuna in the Spanish third division, midfielder Fabian Messina with Hoffenheim. So that sounds interesting as Hoffenheim plays in the Bundesliga, but he doesn't play for their senior team. He plays for their U19 squad. So, and even then, he's only played just a few games. Then there is Omar de la Cruz with Calahorra in the Spanish second division. Nauen Lorenzo with Osasuna. Now that also sounds interesting because Osasuna plays in La Liga, the top division in Spain. But again, he doesn't play for the senior team, only their youth team. And lastly, there's Juan Pineda with Torrijos, also in the Spanish third division. They also have 2 players in the U.S. That's Gerard Laverne with FC Tucson in the USL, but he's not played for them yet. And there's also Edison Ascona, who is currently with Inter Miami, but again, has not played a single game for them yet. He will be starting in this upcoming MLS season. He did play well, however, with Fort Lauderdale FC and scored 3 goals in 16 games last year in 2020. So it looks like he is probably their best player for the Dominican Republic right now, and he is the one who scored their only goal against Mexico. The rest of the squad all play in the Dominican Republic, and honestly, that's not a very good league. So not too much to worry about there. That said, again, the US should not take this game for granted, as winning this one is just as important as the win against Costa Rica. If they manage to do so, then it's pretty much guaranteed that the US will go into the next round, regardless of how the game against Mexico finishes. So apart from that, they can also rest some players, give minutes to others, and stay fresh for the most important game of the whole tournament, which will be the semifinal, because that's the knockout game that will determine if the U.S. qualifies for the Olympics or not. So right now, thanks to this win against Costa Rica, yes, the U.S. fans and players alike can be happy and a little excited, but again, we should not get ahead of ourselves. We should take the Dominican Republic game very seriously, as stated, and because of this, I expect the starting lineup not to change too much, to remain mostly the same. Ochoa should remain in goal if we win. Then JT can maybe get the Mexico game. I don't think now is the time to change it up. I know Kreese in a previous interview did state that he wanted one goalkeeper to start the first game and then a different the second. I think that would be a mistake. Ochoa clearly is playing very, very well. He was the best player in this last game. He by far should stay as the starting goalkeeper for this next match. Vines can also stay as left back, as we really don't have another option. I mean, Herrera already played this game. So, I mean, they're both equally tired, so might as well leave Vines at the left back, which I think he will. I would also resist the temptation to change out the center backs, and maybe put Kessler in there. I would avoid to do that right now, if only because it seems match sharpness is so important for these players. I'd like to see how Vlad and Pineda do at first in this next game, and maybe sub one of them out in the second half if one gets injured, or if maybe we're like, hopefully, fingers crossed, 3-0 up, and that way we could give one of them a rest. I'd also start Araujo at right back as well. He didn't do a bad job at wing back in this last game, but I'd start him at his best position at right back. In the middle, again, mostly the same, except I like to see Cardoso starting this time. He might also put in Tessman to give him, some minutes and a chance, but I'd keep Jordy on for now. And then, again, possibly sub him off later on for Tessman, later in the game. Now, Soto most likely will start the next game. Even Jesus didn't really get an injury, but still I think he should get a rest. Lewis can also stay as he did play well and should do even better against Dominican Republic. So I am expecting him to do, put in a better performance and hopefully even get a couple of goals. I'd start Salcedo on the right this time, as I think he performed much better than Benji there. And that also would leave Benji as available to come on as a sub if needed. So that's my starting lineup for the game against Dominican Republic, which will be on Sunday. So that just gives the guys 2 days of rest, recovery, and preparation. So definitely should be some changes, but not too much. And what's my prediction for how the game will go? I'm gonna say I think it'll be 3-1. You in favor of the U.S. Of course. I think the U.S. should definitely get some more goals against this team. And the one goal I'm giving to the Dominican Republic, I mean, they got one against Mexico, but that was a penalty. But still, I mean, given our back line, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dominican Republic was able to squeeze in one goal. So I'll give them the goal, but I am expecting the U.S. to win this one. I say 3-1. We'll see. All right, guys, now it's your turn. Let me know your thoughts on the Costa Rica game. Are you excited or nervous about the upcoming games? Let me know down below. And again, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. See you guys later, and thanks for watching. This is American Soccer United, the place where American soccer fans unite.